Hey, good morning. Welcome back to the Gilbertson Aero Factory. Today is the 27th of January 2025. I'm obviously not in the factory itself. This would be the post-production facility. The factory's on the other side of that wall, which is where my horizontal stabilizer is hanging up there. The work that we are going to look at today actually happened yesterday, Sunday, the 26th of January 2025. When we get into it, I'll explain why I decided not to record a stand-up intro before recording, which is what I ordinarily do. But before we do that, since I have you here in the post-production suite, let's take a look at the plans so I can better describe the mess that I made and why it was probably completely unnecessary. So here's a look at the exploded diagram for the flaps, and up here, if you can see toward the right hand side, these are the two brackets that we fabricate that will wrap around. This is the forward spar and the end rib, and they will wrap around and tie this whole assembly together so that the actuating arm has a really solid structure to hold on to. So if you look at this piece of angle right here, we fabricate this one from blank material, basically. The forward spar has 3 holes in it right here that match up to 3 holes in the forward flange of the end rib, and then we match that and add an additional 5 holes that we then match drill to the forward spar. So at that point, there will be 8 rivets holding that together, -4 rivets. And then this end piece, we match drill that to the end rib with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, plus the rivet that holds the nut plate on here, so 7 more. And then these 2 pieces are held together by 5 AN470-4 rivets. So if you exclude these 3, and I'll explain why in a second, if you exclude these 3 rivets right here, this whole assembly is tied to the flap assembly with 17 solid AN470-4 rivets. This thing is really tightly held together. And then, of course, the skin, you see the bottom skin here attached to the end rib, and then the top skin wraps around. This thing is so completely, I won't say over-engineered, but a very strong piece of material. We have these 3 holes right here because we have holes in the rib and holes in the spar, and these are simply, the call out in the instructions is just to put a pull rivet in there. There were 2 in here, 2, that I wasn't happy with. I didn't think that they were set well enough, so I wanted to replace them, and that's how this whole thing began. So if we slide over here and take a look at the profile view, again, this is the end rib, and not only is it difficult to drill out all of these right here because these were set with the factory head on the inside because that's the thinner material. So when it came time to remove these, drilling through the backside or the shop head of rivet, it's nearly impossible to get to leave a clean hole behind. That didn't work out very well. And then this right here, this curve you see, that is the top skin that curves over the whole thing. So anything sort of above this plane is extremely difficult to get access to. This space from here to here is maybe 3.5 inches. So you can't get in there with a punch or a straight drill or anything like that. So when I attempted to drill out these 2 rivets, the top, let me get back up here. It was the top and the bottom rivet. When I attempted to drill those 2 out, those holes got boogered up, and the bottom one, the rivet got stuck. The tail wouldn't push out through the bottom of this flange. Instead, it just bent the flange. I'm telling you. So And as I said in Saturday's video, I found out that the damage to all of this is worse than I thought. Some of these match drilled holes that you don't see on the exploded diagram, but some of these 5 holes up at the top where you have to work under that curve were really bad. They weren't usable. You couldn't upsize them. And as I thought more about it, there was no way to actually use a doubler because there wouldn't be enough distance between rivets as you created new rivet holes. Okay, that explains that. We'll get into the time lapse and the voiceover. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope that this was a useful way of looking at things. Okay, into the voiceover we go. I said previously that I was going to talk to Van's Builder Support on Monday about the possibility of using a doubler. I realized today when I got into it that, and this is what you see me doing with the calipers here, was measuring how much space I had, not only edge distance from the material, but between the rivets, the pitch between the rivets. And I realized there wasn't enough room in there, in that bracket, and then that space on the forward part of the spar to drill a couple replacement holes, as it were, and put a doubler behind it. There wouldn't be enough, the pitch between the rivets would not be adequate according to the books that you saw me looking through. So that wasn't going to happen. So I decided to go ahead and remove the spar, and I will replace it. I actually do have, believe it or not, a replacement for that spar, because that spar was also on that list of replaceable laser cut parts. I did an inspection of it. The other spar that I have is in fact laser cut. The holes don't look that bad, but I won't really know until I final size drill those holes and see if they clean up, or if not. I've had other parts in the past that were similar to this, and once you go through with the reamer and drill them to final size, the holes are perfect. But I've also had other laser cut parts where the burn, sort of the poor cut path from the laser left too deep a notch in a hole, so even after reaming it out, you still had quite a mess. So what you saw me showing there are the rivet heads for all the solid rivets along the forward edge where the interior ribs meet the web of the spar. Those actually came off pretty easily. For the ones that I could reach, that I didn't have to get around that curved part of the skin, I used the blind rivet removal tool that I got from Jack Cole Freeman, and that thing is awesome. And then the rest of them, I worked just slowly with a right angle drill that I have a really short, and I mean like a 1/2 inch long number 30 drill bit, so I can get in that weird little space in there. And they all came out really cleanly. I was happy. So next I decided to start with the more difficult rivets to remove from the skin, which are the ones that go through the skin, the spar, and the piano hinge. So this would be the bottom of the skin, and work my way across. In total, removing that spar took me just a hair over 2 hours. I think it was 2.2 hours total. But so while we're watching this stuff that you've now seen me do many times, let's just enjoy some peaceful views of the East Texas snowstorm that we had a week ago. This was a pretty welcome change of pace, and if I ever see this again for as long as I live in Texas, I'll be stunned, at least for this part of Texas. But don't worry, you didn't miss anything. I'm still here drilling out rivets. This, I guess compared to a lot of the other rivet removal I've done recently, this starts to feel pretty easy to remove these flush rivets. And also this is about as easy a workspace as you can have, a nice flat piece of material and you can access the backside of the rivet. So long story short, all of these top and bottom came out cleanly for the most part. And what I mean, the exception to that is these ones that are on the bottom of the wing that also attach the piano hinge. I drilled out drill them out enough to remove the rivet head and then separate them from the skin. But they are still attached to the spar and the piano hinge. They just need to be punched out. But that piano hinge is really soft, and so I decided to wait until the spar is completely removed, so I have easier access to it, to then carefully finish punching out those rivets without doing any damage to that piano hinge. So not 100% sure where I will go from here with this. I mean, it's now ready for at least the flap assembly itself is ready to be put back together again now that I have everything out of the way. And when I'm saying I'm not 100% sure, I don't know yet what I'm going to find when I final size drill that spar, if I need to order another spar. The spar isn't that expensive. It's $56, I think. The shipping on it is probably pretty expensive because it's got to be shipped in a long tube. And then I definitely have to order the bracket piece that will be on the end rib. I don't have any scrap material that will fit those dimensions that I could fabricate it, so I'll have to order that. And I'll have to order a bunch more rivets because I have burned through a lot of them practicing by riveting them to an assembly and then taking it all apart. So this is something that I continue to get better and better and better at. So if nothing else, by the time this is all done, I could maybe, do a little side hustle taking airplanes apart for people. Yeah, so I will, we're back into the work week and I have work to do, so I don't know when I'll get to do this, but I will maybe just take a few minutes and go final size drill that spar and figure out if I need to order it. But that's a problem for another day, not today. Still have plenty of other work to do. Episode 4 of the podcast is out. It's on Apple, it's on Spotify, and I'll also publish this one on YouTube because it's our first video podcast. So check it out. I'll try to remember to put a link in the description. See you on the next one.